Greetings, YouTube. I want to imagine for a moment that a friend of yours walks up to you and says, "Hey, what's in the box?" And you glance at the box. You say, "There's $20 in quarters in there." Now, you think there are $20 in quarters in that box. You're not actually sure if there are. But because you think there are $20 in quarters in that box, as far as you're concerned, there are. That would be confirmation bias. You think you know what's going on at the moment without absolutely being sure of what's going on at the moment. So you take the box down, you open it up, and you find a note in there and say, "Hey, I borrowed $10 in quarters, signed your brother." Now, first off, you're probably annoyed at your brother for taking $10 in quarters without asking. But the reality is there weren't $20 in quarters in that box. There was only 10 and a piece of paper. So a more logical thing would have been for you to do if I walked up and said, "Hey, what's in the box?" And you could have said, "It's where I keep my quarters." And that would have been a true statement. It's where you keep your quarters. Doesn't mean there are any quarters in that box, but at least you would have said something that was the absolute truth. And the reason I bring this up is that I find myself online all the time talking to people who have a very set position on many different topics. It could be gay rights. It could be the Second Amendment. It could be freedom of speech. It could be the Catholic Church is perfect in every way. There are many different topics that I cover, as anyone who looks at the number of videos I've posted can tell you. I'm a very opinionated person. And I know that I bring my own confirmation bias with me. But I make a concerted effort to avoid it whenever possible. I know I can't. I'm human. But I try. But a lot of the people I run into online, they don't try. They aren't even aware they have confirmation bias. They aren't even aware that it is a concept. Now, I'm not picking on them for being ignorant. There's absolutely no shame in being ignorant. There's shame in remaining ignorant, but that's something different. But most people never encounter it. A lot of people can live their entire lives with never having their ideas challenged. And I'm a firm believer that you have to challenge your beliefs. All of them. That if you just take a belief that's handed to you, say thank you, hold it to your bosom and walk away, that you're never going to actually achieve anything. All you're doing is carrying someone else's idea. It's not yours. You need to understand it. You need to comprehend it. You need to know how it fits into the world at large for you and fits into the world at large in reality. And once you do that, if you still cleave to a belief, then I will defend your right to hold it. Even if I disagree with it. Even if I think you're wrong. Even if I think that you're dangerous. So long as you don't actually harm anyone, if your idea is just absolute wacky crazy, okay, it's yours. But when people have confirmation bias, a lot of the times they're convinced that not only is their idea great, but that you should adopt that idea as well. And that's where we come into the category of zealotry, and that's when you start getting all kinds of negative things that eventually lead you into things like armed conflicts, terrorist attacks, and wars. So I'm a firm believer in questioning your beliefs and everything. In making sure that your confirmation bias is as small as it can get. And that when someone asks you, "Hey, what's in that box?" you give them an answer that is the truth, even if it isn't necessarily what you really want it to be.